On today's show, everything we learned from last night's Senators season opening win in Tampa Bay.
And after a big game from Shane Pinto, we debate what his next contract extension could look like and a weekend preview for the game up against the Florida Panthers.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today is Friday, October 10th, and Pillsy, after a questionable opening 20 minutes, the Senators locked in and locked it down to get the win 5-4 in Tampa.
Oh, Ross, it's crazy how much of a difference getting the win does for our moods. I was buzzing last night. The postcast was a vibes cast. Starting off the postcast with a win and danger flutes is so incredible. I'm feeling great this morning, despite feeling a little nervous when this game got started and the Sens were down 2-0, then 3-1, but ultimately they're a mature team. That was kind of the buzzword going around in the post-game pressers, especially by Captain Brady Tkachuk, and you could sense that maturity from this team to be able to beat a good Tampa Bay Lightning team in a game like that on the road.
And when they tie it up in the second period, from that point on, not to allow a shot in 18 minutes, I mean, that is mature hockey. And we'll get into maybe the goaltending a little bit later, but that was secondary to the heart and grind showed by this team. Like, not all those goals were Picasso's. I'm looking at you, Zuby. Little wrist shot from the point, but it's about finding a way and finding how to get momentum back on your side, because it was clearly in Tampa's favor after the first period. But all it takes is that little switch, and the Senators found that, and ultimately Shane Pinto steps up to tie the game, and then Shane Pinto steps up to get the game. I keep wanting to call it a game-winning goal. That darn goal with 14 seconds left.
I think we can call it the game-winning goal because you score an empty netter and then they score to make it within one. It for all intents and purposes, as far as momentum goes, that was the game winner.
Yes, exactly. Don't take it away from us. If you want to get technical, you can call it the go-ahead goal with 1 and 40 seconds left. Like, this came right down to the wire, and I was ready. Based on the way they played in the second and third period, I almost went into my DJ Smith quote book if the Sens had lost this game and say we just didn't get the bounces, because I thought the Senators played a fantastic second and third period and deserved to win this game.
Would you say that Pinto goal was the TSN turning point of the game, or is there another moment you're looking at?
There actually is another moment. After the Senators tied it up, Shabbat had a pizza right up the middle, and Ullmark made a huge save point blank.
Yeah, I was a little harsh on Ullmark. I said the .840 save percentage was not good enough, and I'm sure he would have liked to have a better game. But after rewatching the game and looking at the highlights, like, first goal, what are you going to do there? That's a power play goal where Bjorkstrand walks it right through the middle and taps it in. Second goal, remind me, what was the second goal? Was that the Kucherov one?
No, that was the Braden Point goal.
Yeah,
so play goes off the wall. It's a nice passing play. Radish at the point to Kucherov again, back to Radish. They cycle it down, and then Gensel goes up to point. And Ullmark was on his goal line. That was the issue on that play, but it was still a perfectly placed shot. And you shouldn't be allowing shots from players like Point in that location.
Yeah, and looking at it, Martin Powell was kind of screening him, and it does deflect off Martin Powell there. So that one, I was like, oh, he's got to have with that one. But watching the replay, that was a tough one. But yes, I do agree. He was a little deep in his net there. And then the Kucherov one, like, Kucherov's just amazing. The Sens gave him too much time and space there. And then the fourth goal is a deflection off Nick Jensen that goes top shelf. So ultimately, I'd like to pull back my comments about how Ullmark was not good enough. Sure, would you like him to be better than .840? Yes, but sometimes you need to rewatch the goals and how it goes in when evaluating goalies' game, because often we're too hard on them just looking at straight save percentage and things like that.
And you even went so far as saying give Maryline the crease in Florida.
I did not say give him the crease in Florida. I said maybe you think about it. But again, I would like to walk back my feelings on that. You have to show Allmark that he's the guy. I think you play him in Florida and you play him for the home opener, and then you give Levy the first game on that back-to-back on the road in Buffalo.
Yes, that's got to be either that or at home against the Kraken the next night, where it is the start of a 3-4, the back-to-back situation. I might give Levy the home start first, just to not ease him in, but just to let him feel good. No?
I like starting him in Buffalo. I know we can't say Buffalo's an easy opponent. That's not what I'm trying to say there. But I think it gives Allmark a better break to not have to start on the road.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And Buffalo, I mean,
man,
that sucks. We'll touch on what we're getting at there. #SensAbroad later on in the show. But the main storylines here are the fact that the Ottawa Senators were getting contributions throughout their lineup. You look at Brady Tkachuk with 3 assists in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Artem Zub obviously was a great story with a goal and 2 assists, plus
5 shots.
9 shot attempts too. He was putting everything on net.
Wow.
And the Senators got goals from it's not their third line. Like, we need to just change it in the lineup card, because Shane Pinto played the second most minutes of any forward behind Brady Tkachuk.
But once Batherson comes back, I still think the line's slot that way.
Yeah, sure. And like, even if you take that out, like Giroux played 15-11 and Cousins played 15-35. Dylan Cousins, that is. So if you're looking, it was pretty even all across the board, except for Curtis McDermott, who played 2 minutes and 13 seconds. I'm not going to say he'll be out of the lineup, because we'll get to what Florida does, and their fourth line has a lot of meat on that bone. But I do think early on in the season, it's not the worst thing in the world to have that, because we got to see Zetterlund get shifts with Eller and Nick Cousins. We got to see Giroux play a couple shifts down there. They were able to get these guys a little extra ice time, and maybe against a little bit weaker of an opponent, and still have Lars Eller, who was so responsible last night. And he gives me so much more confidence. And I loved what Adam Gaudette did last year. He scored goals. Can't take that away from him. Earned a great contract. But just the savviness of Lars Eller really shone through last night, I found. He didn't do anything exceptional, but I don't expect that from him. And I thought he played his role really well with 14 minutes and 20 seconds on ice. Had 4 hits and won 71% of his draws.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you brought him in to do. So I'm happy with Lars Eller's game as well.
Yeah, 10 for 14 in the dot for Lars Eller.
Wow, that's
7 for 9 in the defensive zone too. So
massive.
That's big. That's what you need for the Ottawa Senators. So happy to see that. Shane Pinto is a conversation we're going to have in the next segment, because there was an episode of Locked On Senators in early July, right when it was eligible for Shane Pinto to sign an extension. And I believe the thumbnail says pay Pinto now, because the price is only going up. And we will discuss some comparables. One of them was in the game last night on the other side and played in 4 nations and could be an Olympic member for Team Canada. But that's the kind of competition Shane Pinto's putting himself up against, the way that he finished last season, and then obviously having a tremendous start to this season. What other notes from last night's game before we dive into Pinto's game do you want to touch on? Like, I still feel the same way about Tampa as I did before the game. Like, they beat a really good team that I thought played well. Like, I wouldn't go out and say Tampa laid an egg at home and Ottawa got the win. That was 2 good teams going at it. And you could tell, they posted on the graphic during the game, they were 2 of the teams that had the fastest average speed last year. And you could see there were some stretches without whistles where it was back and forth and speed. So not only was it a great test, but it was one that the Senators passed.
And not only speed, Ross, but physicality as well. There was 100 hits in this game. Like, so you had special teams, fights, hits, speed, goals, big saves. Like this comebacks, leads. This game had everything. Empty netters. Like, it was just a fascinating game, and it's always fun to be the one that comes out on top on that. Now, I don't want to damper what's been mostly positive, but that bottom pair was outmatched almost every time they were on the ice, in my opinion. Donovan Sabrango and Nicholas Matin-Palo. So that makes me wonder if Travis Green will look at inserting Jordan Spence into the lineup up against the Florida Panthers. Now, we talked about Matin-Palo as being more a physical shutdown guy, and maybe that makes him seem more reliable, and especially he's a guy that Travis Green knows. But Jordan Spence has much more NHL games than Matin-Palo, so it's not like he's this young, spry rookie. And he brings an element of being able to transition the puck up the ice, so that when those two guys are on the ice, Sabrango and Matin-Palo, or the third pair, I should say, it's not just, hey, let's just shut down, defend, and chip it off the glass and out type thing. Like, you want to be able to have a little bit of momentum with the puck, not just fully defensive. So I'll be interested to see if they make that change. I don't think Sabrango is going to change, just because you probably want the lefty-righty situation there. And I'm not necessarily saying it was all Matin-Palo's fault that pair didn't perform, but I think that would be one area where I didn't exactly love.
No, and what really kind of relieves that stress is that in our predicted lineup before the season, neither of those guys were in it. You're expecting that sooner rather than later you'll see a pair of Clevin and Spence, and you're going to feel a lot more confident when they're on the ice. But I think that even just the confidence from being able to play, and I know they didn't do spectacularly by any means, but there's not going to be a whole lot of harder competition than on the road in Tampa, where John Cooper was able to get his top guys out against them quite often.
But then you're looking at on the road in Florida, where Paul Maurice is likely going to try to do the same after seeing how that went, right?
Yeah, he will. So it's a storyline to watch for tomorrow, and lots more storylines are coming up later in this game when we finish the show with a weekend preview. Of course, the postcast will be live right after the festivities, and then Monday, home opener against the Nashville Predators. So stay tuned for all of that, but let us know in the comments. And I want you to pause here and put a number down. And then after we discuss Shane Pinto's potential extension, I want you to, whether you're staying with your number right now, or if some of what we bring up could alter your thought process on what this guy is going to get paid. We know he's going to get paid, but how much? We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL and NHL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for every kickoff and puck drop with a can't-miss offer. If you're not already joined to FanDuel, no worries, because right now is a great time to join, because new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel. Ross loves FanDuel, and you should too, because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, same game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. I had a mix of all three of those things. I had some player props, I had a Pilsey's parlay of the day, and I live bet the Sens when it was tied 3-3. So that just goes to show you can make every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. No games tonight, but get ready for Saturday, Frozen Frenzy, 16 different matchups. And with FanDuel, you can make it quick, easy, and better ways to add more energy to those sporting events. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
All right, Pilsy, the Ottawa Senators victorious in their opening game. You can go check out the postcast for our immediate reaction following the game. You can find it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Those are all ways that you can help the show grow. And if you happen to listen to the postcast, you might have noticed the thumbnail, the Pinto parlay. He parlayed one goal into two, and it gave the Ottawa Senators a victory. Shane Pinto with 2 goals, an assist, was all over the ice. Didn't take a lot of faceoffs. Was Giroux on his right side, and Giroux being a right shot as well. But he took a huge one in the defensive zone right before the empty net goal and was able to snap it back and then win a battle along the boards to get the puck up and give Giroux the ability to hit one from center ice. Shane Pinto, the ice time tells a story too. Travis Green relies on him more than almost anyone else on this team. So what's the value of that? Because if you're just looking at it on the whiteboard, he's your third line center. But anyone who watches the Ottawa Senators knows he's so much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got a lot of potential that he can reach. For this debate, Ross, I would like to propose that, and I think this is the way it's going to naturally seem anyways, but you always get to play the part of the fun guy that's having the big excitement, energy with all the discussions, and I'm always trying to be patient and roll things back. So let's say for this argument, you're the player and the agent, and I'm going to be more on the side of the discussion of the general manager and the team. I think but we're both kind of leaning towards those sides of the argument anyway. So to make me seem like I'm not down on Shane Pinto, or I don't believe in him, or I don't see his potential, or I don't think he can't get paid, I'm going to take the side of trying to see what's best for the team here. I just want to set it up that way. Does that make sense? Is that fair?
Yeah, well, Pooley already said you're the junior VP of hockey operations, so you're already wearing that hat. And I just want to point out that when I said lock Shane Pinto up for a long-term contract 2 years ago, that would be looking pretty good.
I stand by the bridge deal, though, because you weren't fully sure where Shane Pinto was going to be. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, Ross. He's only played one full 82-game season, and he has a career high of 37 points.
Yeah, that's true. He also went 19 games without a point last year while he was battling through injury, and then finished the season as one of the best scorers on the Ottawa Senators from after the Four Nations. So we know that he can scores big goals, scores shorthanded goals, wins key faceoffs, matches up against the other team's top line, and he shoots the puck well and makes whoever he plays with even better. So that would be where I would start the argument. Like, how much do you value him? Because based on your usage of him, it's quite a bit more than guys who are making a lot of money around him in the lineup.
I think the first thing we need to nail down before we get into a discussion is let's try to agree upon a contract length. Because I think without a contract length, any numbers we put are just going to be comparing apples to oranges. So what would you say you're looking for a contract length for Shane Pinto?
I think 7 years would be fantastic. If he wants to go 8, let's do it while we still can. But I think 7 is a great number.
I'm shutting down 8. You only do 8-year deals for top wingers, top centermen, and top defensemen, in my opinion.
Well, what if Shane Pinto's the top centerman?
Over Shane Pinto or Tim Stützle?
No, I am, though, seeing a lot of people saying, I want to see just for a game, Pinto with Brady and then Timmy on the right wing, off wing.
No,
I'm just saying that I've been seeing it a lot on social media. I agree. Timmy's a centerman and should always be a centerman, but it could be funny if you're looking for like that nuclear option down one late. I'm just saying.
8 years, no, can't do it. I was going to say 5 or 6. So we're within 6 or 7 years here.
And Shane Pinto is going to turn 25 years old in November. And he's also got 1 year of RFA eligibility. So that year will inherently be a bit cheaper than all the unrestricted free agency years, but there's only one. And you're not signing him to a 1-year contract.
No,
you're not walking him to free agency. How many UFA years can you afford to buy for Shane Pinto? Could the thought process from your end, being the team, say, hey, look, Brady's deal is up 2 years after this one. We've got Batherson to sign after next season. We've got some big money deals that we need to figure out how everything fits into this cap, this new cap. And not only that, but are we going to be a cap spending team when it's $114 million in 2 years? Those are the questions that the team's going to have to ask themselves when they look at the length of the deal.
So I'll go with you on 7, just because if I'm the team, I'm looking. Timmy's got 6 left. Cousins 5, and Sandy 7. So if we add 7 onto Shane Pinto's year this year, that's 8. It's nice to have contracts expiring at different times, so it's not like 1 year you're like, oh my god, we got 2 massive deals. So let's go with 7 years.
And what I like about that from my side, the agent side, is he'll be 32 when this deal's done, and if he does what we all believe he can do,
got time for another deal.
You got time for another big money deal after that. So,
and then from the team side, I'm buying up Shane Pinto's prime years. I would say
correct.
It's fair to say prime years are 26 to 30. I think
I would even say 25 to 31.
Yeah. So you're getting the prime years here. So we're happy with 7. Let's go with 7.
Okay. So with that, I think the initial offer from Shane Pinto would probably come in pretty high, probably over $7 million a year.
So I would start with the comparable that we teased, and I think it's a good comparable. Tell me if people tell me if you think I'm way off, but I think Anthony Cirelli is a great player comparable for Shane Pinto. He was a guy that was a middle 6 player for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He plays second line center now. He gets points. He's on the second power play unit and plays top penalty killing unit. All of these are positions that Shane Pinto is in. Now, he signed his deal in 2022, an 8-year deal at $6.25 million. So if I'm the team, I'm instantly comparing those 2 players together, and that's where we're starting. I'm not suggesting that that's the dollar value that he needs to come in at, but that's where I'm starting with player comparables. Fair?
I think that's fair. He was 25 years old when he signed that contract as well. So
and Shane Pinto will also be 25 years old unless they get the deal done before November 12th.
Which would be very cool. 1 month
away.
So
I think it's really good comparable.
I do too. Now, this is where it gets expensive. That contract took up 7.49% of the cap when the deal was signed.
In 2022.
In 2022. Shane Pinto, if we were looking at the same, and again, this is a 7-year term versus 8 years, so maybe Pinto's becomes a little bit cheaper than that, but maybe it's offset by the tax-free state, and Cirelli had just won the Stanley Cup. Obviously, he knew he was comfortable there, and they were winners. Being a team that wins, you usually get a touch of a discount because players want to win more, and that gives them opportunity to make more money off the ice and get better opportunities, like when your head coach is the head coach of the 4 Nations and the Olympic team, and you get a spot on those. Cirelli's a hell of a player, though. Don't get me wrong here.
Yes.
That percentage of the cap starting next season at $104 million cap, that would mean Shane Pinto's AAV would come in at $7.696 million per season. That's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some sticker shock on that. But then when the cap moves up again the following year to 114 million or 113.5, I believe, all of a sudden, like, I might do that.
So I think the arguments you're making for Pinto are sound. As the team, I would rebuttal and say, look, Dylan Cousins is making 7.1 million. We view him as our second line center right now.
I don't know if they do, though. He would say, then why does my client play 3 minutes more every single game?
I think, we've gone over the third line center thing, but I think it's fair to say that Dylan Cousins is slated in the lineup as the second line center.
Yeah, I don't know for how long.
And that's fair. But so I think they would approach that being like, Dylan Cousins, that's 7.1. We think you got to be in that area for our cap management to make sense. For me, I'm drawing the line at 7.5 million on a 7-year deal. I'm trying to, I think ideally we're looking at 7.3 for 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a great contract. And Shane Pinto is a guy who in his career has missed out on so much money based on injuries and other circumstances.
That's $51.1 million deal total.
Yeah, his career earnings right now are $5.4 million. So when you put that all together, it's a pretty tough thing to turn down, that much guaranteed money. But I've got a couple of reasons why he might, and that's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. All right, Pilsy, so you're drawing the line for Shane Pinto at $7.5 million per season. And only like a month ago, I was saying 7 by 7. Since then, though, we've seen all these top players get double digits easily.
Yep.
I'm not saying he's a double-digit player, but as the rising tide goes, everybody's going to make more money. So the two things when you bring up Dylan Cousins, if you're the team, one, I say, that's not my client. I would not have had him sign that contract. And I would also say that he was coming off his career year when he signed that deal. Has it aged appropriately
Shane
for
Pinto
what he's
will
making?
likely be coming off his career year this year.
Yeah, that's a fair rebuttal to that. You put so much time into developing Shane Pinto. You can't have, and it's been drawn out before. I just think it has to get done early. And I'm confident in Steve Stamkos that they're going to figure something out. Remember last year, it's obviously a lesser contract, but Ridley Gregg was just like on a random Tuesday morning, the news dropped. So I'm confident. I think they said on the broadcast, Gord Miller did last night, where it's like, I don't think the fan base has ever had this much confidence in the management, the players, and the owner all at the same time.
Yes, and that goes not just the fan base, Ross, the rest of the league. Like on the broadcast, they were pumping up how the Ottawa Senators had changed. Like people in the hockey world realize and respect the changes that the culture of the Ottawa Senators have done. And I'll just say, I think Steve Stamkos is working and has worked hard to get this contract deal done. I think Pinto and his camp are like, we feel like waiting is a good decision, and that's smart. But let's also remember, Steve Stamkos grinded Claude Giroux and his camp on that deal. And Claude Giroux said it was the hardest contract negotiation he's ever had, and it was a one-year deal with bonuses. Like, Steve Stamkos is not just going to roll over and be like, oh, Pinto, you're so amazing, we're going to give you whatever you want, here's a blank check. Because he knows they have to work and be very particular about how they get their deals done, because they've been blessed by having Timmy, Brady, and Sanderson locked up at amazing deals. So they've had to grind on other deals to make sure that things don't get out of hand here if they want to build a successful roster. This Pinto deal, sure, they did the Gregg deal, they did the Zetterlund, they did the Allmark extension. Nice job getting those done. But this Pinto deal will be Steve Stamkos' first real test, in my opinion, to see how he can work a massive, I'll say it, franchise-altering contract negotiation.
Yeah, and Louis Gross is a type of agent that's going to be on the other side there, chipping away. His two highest paid players that he represents have both held out into regular seasons as RFAs.
That scares me.
And guess what? Both of them ended up getting big money deals.
Who were
William Nylander and Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah, and Nylander waited till the very
last
end.
minute.
Yeah.
And then he signed an $11.5 million AAV. And looking at his client list, I'm sure he's licking his chops as well, because if Shane Pinto makes over $6.5 million, he'll be his third highest paid client behind those two.
But also, if you're Shane Pinto, you got to look at the time you missed an injury, the time you missed the suspension. I don't know if he loves the idea of holding out and missing more playing time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, those are dollars he's not going to get back. And
no, I think he wants
to be with the boys. Like, Shane Pinto
season
wants to be with the guys. I think, Ross, also, you want poor Cuz on your negotiating team. Did you hear during Pinto's post-game presser, Nick Cousins going cha-ching, cha-ching,
cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching?
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think we're looking at 7 years in the low 7 millions, maybe mid 7 millions. I think that's what gets it done for both sides here.
What number would you be comfortable if they want a shorter term deal, which I doubt based on what we've all discussed, but like the lowest I would go would be 4 years.
I wouldn't consider 4. For me, I want 5 or 6. Like 6 for me is a great spot, but like I mentioned, it's nice to have those staggered contract endings. So that's where I think 7 makes a lot of sense. I don't think you do 8 here.
All right, let us know in the comments. Would you sign Shane Pinto for 7 years at $7.5 million per season? I would. I think that with the rising cap, it does have that sticker shock initially, but you dive into it a little bit deeper. And Ottawa, they do have contracts they need to add to the team for next season, but none of their re-signings other than Shane Pinto are going to break the bank at all. And they have 30.8.
The Batherson contract.
No, but I'm talking about this offseason.
Right.
That's another
But you're going to look
year.
at it. You're going to try to extend Batherson.
Of course you are. But that is in a year where there are still so many open spots on the Senators' projected contract list, and you have $56 million right now to play with there. Of course, Pinto is going to bite out of that, obviously, but I'm just looking at next year. You have $30.8 million, and you already have 14 out of 23 active roster players signed in those circumstances. So you could really give them the bag and still be able to work around the edges because the cap went up $9 million. So you could literally give them $9 million and be in the same place you were versus the cap as you are this year.
Okay.
Just based on, I'm just saying, we're in a new world order in the
Pinto
NHL.
is not getting more money than Allmark, Stützle, Brady, and Sanderson.
I know.
That I know for sure. They will not.
I don't think he would even ask for that.
No.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah,
and it's going to be
he
good to see. And it's going to be good to see.
7 by 7.5, $51 million. That's sweet.
Big money.
That's nice. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. But if they wanted to do the exact Cirelli contract at 7.7, I would say add an 8th year and let's do it.
We'll see. Yeah.
Because that's what Cirelli did, 8 years. So if you want the exact cap hit percentage as Anthony Cirelli, so you're going 7 years at 7.5, and I'll say 8 years at 7.7 would be my highest offer that I would be willing to go for Shane Pinto.
Yeah.
You know what's great though? Shane Pinto is signed right now. We're going to get to see him in action tomorrow when the Ottawa Senators take on the Florida Panthers. The Panthers, they're 2-0 without Alexander Barkov and without Matthew Tkachuk and without Thomas Nosek. But the thing is, the NHL gave them a cupcake opening schedule. Home to the Chicago Blackhawks,
who they barely beat,
and home to the Philadelphia Flyers. Say it again.
Who they barely beat. Sorry.
2-1 was the final score there. And the Ottawa Senators have an opportunity to go into Florida, give them their first loss of the season. How are the Senators going to line up? Well, we don't know. Because the day off for the Ottawa Senators today, I'd say well-deserved, as they're going to travel from Tampa to Florida. I'd imagine they did that. Tampa to Florida. Tampa to Sunrise, okay? Fort Lauderdale. You want me to be specific? Fine. Do you think we see any lineup changes from what we had last night?
I don't think Travis Green was too happy with Curtis McDermott. When you play less time on ice than you do spend time in the penalty box, that's never a good sign.
Half.
Yep.
Did have 4 hits, though.
But you look at Florida's bottom line, which we will, and it would make sense to have McDermott in there. I believe in the mutant on mutant mentality. And I don't think Lixell's offensive abilities playing 8 minutes a night swings the needle too far one way, whereas McDermott at least can keep some of these guys away from Brady and lets other players focus on other things.
He's bug spray.
Yeah, exactly. He's rat repellent. How about that for the Florida Panthers?
I like that. Pills, you know what? I'm going to take the extreme positive approach.
Let's hear it.
McDermott's not playing and Lixell's not playing.
11-7?
Nope. Drake Batherson's on the trip. Let's get him in.
Yeah, that would be great.
The lineup would look so good with Michael Amadio on the 4th line with Lars Eller and having it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be pretty.
I'm not optimistic that will happen, but I love your optimism, Ross, and I hope that happens. And then I think it's a toss-up between Martin Palo and Spence. Again, nothing on Martin Palo, but just that bottom pair was outmatched every time, especially if Paul Maurice gets the matchups he wants. I think having more NHL experience and a puck mover on that bottom pair could be advantageous. So it'll be interesting to see how they go here, and I want to make it clear I want Allmark starting this game.
Yes, okay, same. I'm down with that. Dude, how good was Nick Jensen last night? We didn't talk about him at all, but that pair was great too with Shabbat.
Yeah, I can't believe Jensen is playing. Like this whole time, I don't know how many, someone go back and clip how many times I said Jensen will not be available for the start of the season. I bet it's over 10. So for him to come back again, warrior, we respect the hell out of Jensen, and he brings the best out of Thomas Chabot. So big boost to the lineup.
Dude, how sick would Chabot's goal have been last night, where he literally dipsied through the defenders? He like completely contorted his body going full speed to avoid a hit and held on to it. It was nasty. So Chabot was held off the score sheet last night. And I need to address a comment I made in the postcast last night. And it was called out fairly in our YouTube comments, just saying that I said that Brady didn't get on the score sheet, but he did everything else. He got 3 assists. I started the sentence. I think I was trying to get to something else, but I meant held off the scoring. But
Which
he did
is what
everything
Brady
else.
usually does. So I think
Goals.
we knew what you were saying, but fair
Yeah, but it was a fair comment though. So I meant
fair.
to say didn't get any goals, but he did everything else to get his teammates goals, which then the score sheet is goals and assists. So the correct way to say it would have been different. But I said, I gave a disclaimer on the postcast last night. I was so excited. I had 35 tabs open. I was flying around.
Yeah.
The point still stands. Brady is looking for his first goal, and I say he does it. My locked on player in what is not a battle of the Kachucks.
Nope.
Brady's going to be the best Kachuk out there.
All right. I like it.
No, I think he's going to chuck along. I think we're going to see Brady bring the best to tomorrow.
All right, I'll stick with you and go for the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to be locked on to Tim Stützle. I was so proud of our German boy that he was shooting the puck. He had a glorious opportunity. Nice feed from Zetterlund in tight on Vasilevsky. Made a nice little move. Couldn't score, though. I think Stützle is going to get one here, too. I think him and Brady are going to create some magic. So I'm with you.
3 shots on goal, 4 shot attempts. 4 miss. So 7 shot attempts.
Yeah.
For Tim Stützle last night. Are you going back to the well with Fabian Zetterlund? 3 or more shots?
I will not be doing that. 0 shots. That was a slap in the face to me. So
8 hits, though. Fabian Zetterlund is on pace for 656 hits this season.
Yeah. Hey, if he's not going to get shots, get hits at least. But I did think he had a nice night, and that was great patience and that pass right on the tape for Timmy. So I'm not trying to knock Zetterlund's game. I'm just sad that I had bets on him to get shots, but no one needs to hear any more about that.
The defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. How are they going to line up? Well, if it's anything similar to what we saw them do last night against the Philadelphia Flyers, Sam Bennett is on the top line with Carter Verhaeghe and Brad Marchand. That's a ratty top line, but they can play too. The second line, Anton Lundell with Eetu Luostarinen and Sam Reinhart. The third line, Evan Rodriguez between Mackie Samoskevich and Jesper Bokvist. The fourth line, Luke Cunnin between AJ Greer and Jonah Gadjevich. On the back end, it's Gustav Forsling with Aaron Ekblad, Nico Mikola with Seth Jones, and Dmitry Kulikov with Jeff Petrie. The average age of their bottom pair is very old. Their starting goalie is very old and very talented as well, Sergei Bobrovsky. And Sens fans, you can hope and pray that Daniil Tarasov, who got lit up multiple times last year by Ottawa, that he's in. I doubt it. This team is 2-0. They're at home. They haven't had to travel yet. 3-game homestand to start the season must be nice. I would expect we see Sergei Bobrovsky in goal, and he was fantastic when needed in last night's game against his former team. We mentioned Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk are out. Same with fourth-line center Tomas Nosek. Who's your lookout player to watch?
I'm going to be looking out for number 15, Anton Lundell. He gets an elevated role with Barkov out. No longer the third-line center. He's now the second-line center. He gets his familiar line mate, fellow Finn, in Luostarinen, but a nice upgrade. Well, I shouldn't say that much of an upgrade because he was with Marchand most of the time before, but Sam Reinhart as the third guy on that line is a big boost. So we know Lundell's a good two-way player, so I'm going to be very interested to see how he plays and how Paul Maurice decides to match that line up against the Ottawa Senators.
That fourth line, though, AJ Greer, Jonah Gadjevich, they're problems, but they're not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is finding a way to match the physicality of the Panthers But my key to victory is stay out of the box, man. Like 2 for 3, the Tampa Bay Lightning go on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers power play, even without Barkov and Tkachuk, are still extremely dangerous. Sam Reinhart, I want to say, led the league in power play goals last year. If not, he was near the top. Maybe it was the playoffs that he was at the top. He's a stud. They just have so many ways that they can beat you. So keep their talent on the bench in an extra man situation. I'm looking for 2 or less shorthanded opportunities for the Ottawa Senators if they want to win tomorrow's game. Their power play, Ottawa, as I'm talking about now, is very good.
Yep.
So if you can draw these rats into making bites, I should say, because we got Brad Marchand photo with his mouth open, and he has been known to use those teeth in the past. I would like to see, let's say this, Ottawa has to have more special teams opportunities, and they have to take advantage of that. That's how you beat the Cats. That's how you do it in their building.
I think that's a better way to put it, Ross, because you look at the way Tampa's preseason went. Well, that was matched up against Florida. These are physical, greasy teams that are not afraid to mix it up. I think there's going to be more than 2 power plays for each team here. So let's see the Ottawa Senators get the better of them at least.
Oh man, who are you looking out for on the Cats?
Lundell.
I didn't have mine. I knew that you said yours. I just wanted to roll into mine here. It will be Sam Reinhart, because when they're missing Matthew Tkachuk, who kind of slots Sam Reinhart, despite being an amazing player himself, down a little bit. I know he's still on the quote second line, but whatever line Reinhart's on for me is the top line. And I think it actually makes me more nervous that this player, who's been over a point per game in each of the last 2 seasons, he had 57 goals 2 years ago, 39 last year. He has 0 points through the first 2 games, Pilsy, and it's only a matter of time before he explodes. So I'll be looking out for Sam Reinhart, and I would advise the Ottawa Senators to do the same. With that said, I know the Sens don't have last change, but if you are getting an opportunity to match up, would you have Sanderson Zub out there against the Bennett Verhaeghe Marchand line, or the Lundell Luosterainen and Sam Reinhart line?
The top line there. I don't get it twisted. I respect what Reinhart can do. Obviously, you just laid out a bunch of reasons why. And Lundell's a guy I'm looking out for, and Luosterainen's a nice player. But Verhaeghe is another guy that's severely underrated in the league. Marchand, I don't care what people think about it. He's still a gamer, and he still finds ways to create offense. And then obviously, who am I blanking on as a center? Oh, Sam Bennett. Yeah. So like that, for me, that is the top line. And do you need Sanders and Zub out against them?
Bennett and Reinhart both looking for their first point of the season. Yeah. Whoops. It's going to be a fun game, though. We'll have the postcast for you right afterwards. If you're looking for a place to watch the game, head to the Glebe Central Pub. Our pub at 779 Bank Street. Pilsy will be there on Monday. Jack will be there on Monday.
Yes.
Martian will be there on Monday. And I will be crying alone until puck drop. First home opener I'm missing since COVID, but good reasons for it. And I will be manning the postcast on Monday as well. We'll chat with you guys tomorrow. Make sure to like and subscribe. You'll know when the postcast goes live. We always start about 15, 20 minutes after the game. Get our ducks in a row, get some graphics ready for you guys, and then vent or vibe after the Senators take on the defending back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Fired up for Sens hockey. You start with 1 win in Tampa. If they get the 2-0 record heading back home, oh, that would be beautiful.
My final thoughts, hashtag Sens Abroad. We teased it earlier.
Yeah.
Josh Norris injured in last night's game. Did not finish. Hopefully it's not serious. Just so tough, man. He's played 4 games with the Sabres and has left 2 of them with injury.
And it was the worst
non-contact
way a Josh Norris injury could happen, because it was a non-contact on a face-off, and we all know what that likely means. Brandon Piller, not a doctor, but you just feel for the guy. A great guy in Josh Norris. I think I speak for all Sens fans. We're all rooting for him no matter where he's playing. And
maybe not in Montreal if you play for the Habs.
I don't think Josh Norris would play for the Habs.
Oh, man. Yeah, we want the best for Josh Norris, friend of the show, and I can't believe we're his last interview he did before.
Days
traded, literally days before. Such a great guy, and we hope that he can recover quickly and get back to scoring goals, because that's what Niner does, man. He puts the puck in the back of the net when he's healthy. You know what else former Senator does, and that's take slap shots from everywhere. Travis Hamonic debut with the Detroit Red Wings was comedic.
Red Wings Twitter was...
It took 5 minutes.
It was so great to see. I'm sorry. We love our guys out Locked On Red Wings, but our guy Brian Fisher tweeted out very early, I'm already sick of Travis Hamonic. I mean, it's fun to be on the other side of this.
So the the Detroit Red Wings game started at 6:15 p.m. Central Time. So they started at 7:15, and I am looking for when that tweet was sent out. It happened pretty quickly into it. He tweets a lot during the games. Holy smokes. Yeah, it was about 42 minutes into the game.
Yeah, so a period, let's say.
Yeah, he finishes -3. And JBD sitting in the press box saying, I've seen this before.
Oh boy, here we go again. That Grand Theft Auto gif.
There was a clip in the NHL highlight pack. The first clip of the game was Hamonic slap shot, missed the net. Puck goes back to his partner, and he is beaver tapping that thing. Give me the puck. I want to try it again. -3, they lose 5-1 to the
Gibson pulled in his debut. Oof.
Woo! I don't look at the standings just yet, but when Detroit fans come into another year with that positivity, everyone's positive. Bruins fans are feeling very good despite the expectations for them. They're 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, a little reality check wouldn't be the worst thing.
Last.
Louder.
Again.
That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. For more, go check out last night's postcast. We'll have another one for you tomorrow. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Sens Central for up-to-the-minute news, information, and laughs. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.